telling scary stories to the board, stop. You have all the detection data you need. Welcome to CISO Stories.
This is a Security Weekly production. Security Weekly is a resource of Cyber Risk Alliance.
The Cybersecurity Collaborative, in conjunction with Cyber Reason, is proud to present CISO Stories. Each week, CISO Stories takes a deep dive on security leadership. The Cybersecurity Collaborative is a unique membership community enabling cybersecurity leaders to work together in a trusted environment. To learn more, visit securityweekly.com/CSC. I am your host, Todd Fitzgerald, and this week we welcome Mischel Kwon, CEO at MK Associates.
Well, I'm one of those, you said wise girls, old girls that's been in this for a really long time. I started my career as a developer, an assembler coder, and I've written several different applications that probably everyone uses every day. I started with point of sales applications and credit checks when it used to be okay for that to take 3 minutes. Worked on the Dow platform.
Never fly today, would it?
No, never. We thought it was fast then, but Dow platform, network development, and all kinds of different applications. And I did my life kind of backwards, and then I was a coder before I got my degree. And I reached a glass ceiling, and so I went back to school. And in looking at what to do, I realized that I knew the stack and that security made sense. And so I became the oldest CyberCore scholarship student and went back to school, got my CS degree and my CS master's, and went into the government. So I became the director of wireless for DOJ and the wireless security, I should say. Okay. And then took a CISO path and US cert, and it's just become a lifelong career.
Good. Well, you've obviously had a lot of experience along the way, and so you wrote a piece talking about business leadership and the CISO, and we talk a lot in that section about the CISO evolution and how the role of the CISO is changed. So tell us a little bit about that article that you wrote.
Well, I think it's a really important subject, and I think the role of the CISO is still evolving, and it's a tough and challenging place to be because you have to fit between two super different worlds, a very technical, almost secretive world, and a very and the business, because you're really protecting the business. So it's difficult to be that leader. It's difficult to manage and understand what the technical people have to say and translate that up into what the executives and the boards need to see. And I've spent a lot of my career trying to solve that problem, trying to solve taking that granular information and distilling it in a way in which it's appreciated by the board, where the board doesn't have to go get another degree to understand what's being said, and having it mapped and understood by the business leaders. A lot of people talk about risk, and it is risk. It is understanding risk. Everything in business is understanding risk. But actually mapping that malware, where the malware is in the organization, understanding the statistical effect of that malware in the organization and the next machines that are vulnerable to it, applications, understanding the attack, and being able to put that into monetary or risk-related terms for the executives is a super hard job for a CISO. because we don't do a great job of collecting those statistics. We do a great job of, playing spooky games and keeping secrets and being mystical about how we find things. And I think that makes the CISO's job super hard. And I think it's our job going forward to understand those statistics and look at our discoveries as statistics and less secretive, less spooky, and more business-like.
So how do you translate that into, something that the executives are going to understand?
Mm-hmm. It starts at the bottom, and it's a management problem. We've allowed, because we have thought we couldn't understand it, we've allowed a lot of this detection to be very secretive, very run by super smart people. And we have thought that we couldn't do that statistically. There was no ROI in security. And that's not true. Most of the detection that we do today is repeatable. It can be done with a workflow. It is manageable. It is measurable. And what we have to do is move to that measurable, manageable process, use more automation, and be able to turn that into statistics. And that means organize all this huge amount of security data we have, really understand just the right amount. We don't have to collect everything. We don't have to keep everything. We just have to have, it's just like the three little bears. You just have to have the right amount.
So what advice would you give to people how they should figure out what that right amount is in an organization?
Look at your threat model. Organize your data by attack type. Be selective. Say, for these attack types, there are these scenarios. These scenarios need this specific data to detect this. And capture that data. Keep track of your maturity in what data you capture. So there's like a little mini project plan. And as you have that data, then you can create the process flows for the analysts to follow to do analysis on that data. Once you have that data and know where that data is coming from, you can create more orchestration and automation to serve that up to the analyst so the analyst can then observe it. And as your analyst uses workflow, you can then measure how many tools is the analyst using, how long are they in those tools, how much data are we collecting from them, and how often is that being used in analysis, so that you're slimming down your tool set to just the tool sets that are really being used. You're keeping statistics, you're measuring. You can go back and trend over periods of time. Over the past 6 months, how many of these types of attack types have happened, and what in my environment has changed or that I could change to affect those trend lines. That's the type of business discussion that business leaders want to have. They want to see, if I spend $5 million to deploy MFA across my organization, across the world, what effect is it going to have on that phishing trend line in my chart? So the only way you can do that is to organize your data, organize your processes, track those statistics, and then you have trending.
The article this podcast is based upon can be viewed in the best-selling cybersecurity leadership book, CISO Compass, Navigating Cybersecurity Leadership Challenges with Insights from Pioneers, available at Amazon.com and other booksellers.
Is that an easy thing to do or not?
It is. I think it's an easy thing to do, but I think some people may not think it's an easy thing to do.
Do you need to tie that into revenues or other key initiatives that are being done in the organization?
I absolutely think you need to tie it into IT projects and IT changes. I think you need to tie it back to weaknesses that you've found in the organization. This is a great way to operationalize compliance. If you have holes in your network that are bothering you from a compliance standpoint, are they really being attacked? Are you seeing For example, if you did not have MFA, we would all know that was a problem, but you could prove that it was an issue by looking at trends. If you had a firewall that you felt was older and inadequate, you could look across those types of attack types. Am I seeing data exfiltration? Am I seeing port scanning? And look at the trends and see if, because of those trends of attacks, you need to replace that firewall. So you really, IT and security really have to be hand in hand. And then you can also look across, if you can marry your risk registry against those types of attacks. And then you see, well, for these type of attacks, it's just common commodity malware. It's just hitting a certain part of the network that's not particularly important. You may not be as panicked as if you saw phishing and data exfiltration from your CFO's office. And you saw in your risk registry that you had certain applications that had certain vulnerabilities, and then you saw those machines around those applications being hit by certain pieces of malware. You may want to react more quickly. So being able to marry that risk data, being able to marry the compliance data, being able to marry that IT data with detection and security data really makes it meaningful and operational.
What sort of things should the CISO be looking at if they're trying to start off with this path? Say their board doesn't really care about, I shouldn't say doesn't care about security, but isn't engaged in security at that point. How does the CISO start to get that attention of the senior management and the board for security?
I really think operating like a business, putting a business plan together, showing that you are going to take certain steps to organize your data. I mean, if you look at this process, it's the same process that you would do to organize any other thing. If you were managing a car manufacturing plant, if you were managing an ice cream shop, you'd put a business plan together. You'd say, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to organize it in this way. I'm going to track these things. I'm going to have processes for this. It's the same thing, but we have to apply that business acumen to security and the security program and bringing together that program. So it's not just a little measuring and counting craters SOC over here and a compliance department over here. You bring all of these together and you have that business plan that articulates that. So start talking in the tone that the board talks in, show them that you're following a business process, and whatever you do, don't tell scary stories. The scare your board to death method will get you fired. It's not a good process.
Why is that not a good process?
It's just been done too much. It's been done too much. I mean, if something's happening, they need to know that something's happening. But if something isn't happening and you're just telling scary stories, it's like crying wolf, and it's not productive.
Right. So you're really bringing problems to management when you
don't have a solution, right? Start with the solution.
So what can I do to understand what the executives really want more? So I've got what I want in terms of a business plan for my piece. How do I get inside their heads and understand what's going to be important to them?
Ask your peers. Look at other people, other organizations that are completely different from yours, but that report to the board. They are people that like standards. They like things in a certain way. Make sure that your presentations are in that format that they are looking to see. Attend a board meeting and be quiet. Just listen, observe. And as you learn what works with that board, then start presenting to that board. Don't try something new or shocking. It's not what they're looking for. They're looking to control risk, so they're not looking for a risk taker to scare them to death.
Have you found many business leaders are really looking into the detail, or do they want the high level summary information?
I don't think that they want the high level summary. I don't think that's the right way to think about it. They don't want it dumbed down. They want the statistics. They want a metric and seeing that you're meeting a metric. They want to see the cost and the effect of money on and the effect to business. They will dive and ask for technical things. If your board is asking for explanations about attacks, you're not presenting to them correctly. They really don't want to know the juicy details of how that malware works. They really want the juicy details about the effect on their business. So if your board is diving, it's because you're not giving them the information they need and they're seeking it out.
So what other things in interacting with the board would be, or senior leaders would be important for, for the CISO to know that's starting out, or the experienced CISO that you learned over your career?
I really think that they want to know that you're constantly reviewing and constantly reevaluating yourself. Don't get too comfortable. All business people reevaluate where they are, what they're doing, if they're doing it correctly. So, just collecting a lot of shiny object toys and, saying I have a lot of tools is not enough. You have to articulate why, their value. You have to say that you are reviewing your program, and it's a constant cycle. And I think all parts of the business are constantly going through that cycle of improvement, and I think security needs to be part of that program as well.
Sure. Good. Well, Mischel, it's been a pleasure having you here today. And
well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you taking the time and your contributions to the CISO Compass book, which I think really helps a lot of CISOs.
Cybereason reverses the adversary advantage with future-ready enterprise protection that empowers defenders to end attacks instantly on endpoints, mobile devices, and in the cloud. Cybereason provides the industry's top-rated endpoint detection and response, next-gen antivirus, and proactive threat hunting to deliver full visibility into every malicious operation and one-click remediation. Cybereason ends cyber attacks from endpoints to everywhere. Learn more about cybereason.com/CISO stories.